Far away from Earth, in a quiet part of the galaxy, there was a beautiful green planet named Kale. This planet was home to a peaceful alien race called the Varellans. The Varellans were tall, gentle beings with soft blue skin, glowing eyes, and long, leafy hair. They lived in harmony with their world. They didn't build big cities. They didn't fight wars. They sang to their trees, listened to the wind, and believed in balance. For hundreds of years, Kale remained untouched by the rest of the galaxy. But then, things began to change. It started slowly. The rivers that once sang through the valleys began to dry. Strange machines, with long arms and glowing red lights, appeared in the deep forests. The ground became weak. The sky grew pale. The animals became quiet. The Varellans did not know who had placed the machines, but they were afraid. These machines drilled into the land and pulled something out from deep below. The Varellans sent messages into space. They had old communication towers left by visitors from long ago. They used those towers to send cries for help. They didn't speak in human language. Their messages were full of emotion, sadness, fear, and pain. They hoped someone, anyone, would listen. Many alien races heard the signals. Some read the messages, but they all turned away. The Varellans are not part of our council, said one ambassador. They are not under our protection, said another. It is not our problem, whispered many leaders in secret rooms. And so, the cries were ignored. Every day, the machines grew louder. They drank the energy from the planet, leaving dry land and broken roots behind. The Varellans held hands and stood near the machines, trying to protect their forests, but the machines didn't see them. They didn't stop. The machines were controlled from far away by someone who never looked down. The Varellans did not believe in war. They only knew how to sing to the stars. So they kept sending their messages, quiet songs filled with sorrow. And in one small part of the galaxy, on a human-built orbital station called Luna Point 6, a young man named Tamil sat alone during his night shift. Tamil was not a hero. He was not famous. He was a technician, someone who repaired communication lines and cleaned sensor dishes. He liked stars, quiet places, and long walks in low gravity. Most people at Luna Point 6 didn't notice him. But that night, something unusual happened. As he adjusted one of the deep space receivers, he heard a strange sound, soft, like a whisper mixed with music. At first, he thought it was a glitch, but the sound repeated. It came again and again, always from the same direction. Tamil listened closely. The voice was not in English. It wasn't in any language he knew, but he could feel something behind it: sadness, fear, a deep kind of loneliness. He recorded the signal and took it to his supervisor. Probably just space noise, the supervisor said. Don't waste time on it. But it sounds like someone's crying, Tamil said. His supervisor gave a short laugh. Then let them cry. It's not our job to care about every beep we hear. Go back to work. Tamil nodded, but inside, he didn't feel right. That night, when the station went quiet, he returned to the receiver. He played the message again. Then again. The more he listened, the more certain he became. Someone needed help. He checked the signal's direction. It was coming from a part of space not often visited. Few human ships went that far. He searched the old star maps and found a small planet listed only as K1183. No details, no records, just a name and a star. Tamil didn't sleep that night. He copied the signal to a data chip and listened to it over and over, every time. He felt the same thing, a cry not from one person, but from an entire world. He didn't know who they were. He didn't know what was wrong, but he knew this. Someone had to care. The next morning, Tamil tried again. He spoke to other crew members. He sent a report to the central station, but every time, he was told the same thing. No danger to Earth. No action needed. Still, Tamil couldn't let it go. He was only one person, a technician. Not a leader, not a soldier. But sometimes, a heart that listens is more powerful than orders from above. So he made a decision. He would keep listening. He would keep learning. And maybe, just maybe, he would be the one who answered the call, because while the galaxy turned away from the Varellan screams, one human had heard them. And that was the beginning of everything. Tommel sat quietly at his desk in Luna Point 6, the small human space station floating far above the moon. Outside the wide glass window, stars blinked like tiny eyes. Inside, machines hummed and screens glowed with quiet data. Everything was calm. But inside Tommel's heart, something had changed. He could not stop thinking about the strange signal, the one full of sadness and fear. He had listened to it for days. He had recorded it, cleaned the sound, and studied its rhythm. It was not just random noise. It was a voice crying out, a voice the galaxy had ignored. Tommel knew he had to do something. He opened his personal journal and started to type. I have received a message. It is not from Earth. It is not from anyone we know, but it is real. It is someone asking for help. I don't know who they are, but I know they are suffering, and I don't think anyone else is listening. He saved the message to his private folder and stared at the screen. Then, with a deep breath, he opened a new file and began decoding the signal. Tommel was not an expert in alien languages, but he had always loved puzzles in school. He had spent hours solving code games and building patterns from strange sounds. He believed that emotions could be heard even without words. He listened again. The sound was like music, slow, soft, and full of long notes. He noticed it followed a pattern. Every few minutes, it repeated, but each time, the pitch was a little different, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. He wondered if it was a kind of emotional code. He began comparing the sounds to known alien languages in the station's database, one by one. He tested them. Nothing matched. Still, Tommel didn't give up. A few hours later, he found something. A very old file, over 100 years old, from a first contact mission with a planet named Kale. It had a short clip of a native song recorded during a peaceful visit. When he played it, Tommel sat up straight. The voice in the old recording was soft and slow, just like the signal he had heard. It had the same kind of rise and fall, the same gentle rhythm. He quickly opened the old star map and searched for Kale. It was marked as non-aligned, meaning it was not part of any galactic group. No trade, no war, no shared government, just alone. He whispered to himself, "It's them. The message is from Kale." That night, Tommel stayed awake, reading everything he could find about the Varellans, the peaceful beings who lived on Kale. Long ago, humans had visited their world, but contact had slowly faded. Now, no one talked about them anymore. Tommel felt a deep sadness. A kind race was crying for help, and no one even remembered their name. He made another report and sent it to the communication office. On Earth, this is urgent. I believe the planet Kale is in danger. The Varellans are sending a distress call. I recommend immediate investigation. He waited for a reply. Hours passed. Then a short message came back. Kale is not under Earth protection. Please focus on your assigned duties. Tommel's heart sank. He had followed the rules. He had reported the truth. But again, no one wanted to listen. Later that day, he walked into the break room. A few other workers sat around, drinking coffee and watching a comedy show. Tommel sat at the edge of the room, quietly sipping his tea. One of the engineers, a tall man named Dale, looked over and smiled. "Hey, Tommel, still chasing that ghost signal?" Tommel nodded. "I think it's real." Another worker laughed. "Come on, man. If it was real, someone important would have said something." "But what if no one else is listening?" Tommel asked. They shrugged. "Then maybe it's not worth listening to." Tommel didn't answer. He stood up and left the room. Back in his cabin, he opened the window shade and stared at the stars. He thought about the Varellans, blue-skinned, peaceful beings who sang to trees and lived close to the land. He thought about the machines stealing from their world, the forest falling quiet, the rivers turning to dust. He didn't know what he could do. He wasn't a leader. He wasn't a pilot. But he had ears to listen, eyes to see, and a heart that cared. And maybe that was enough to begin. He opened his notebook and started planning. He would track the signal, He would study the path. He would find a way to reach Kale. Even if no one helped him, even if others laughed, he would not stop. Because someone had to listen. The next morning, Tommel visited the storage bay. He walked past boxes of tools, old wires, and backup engines. At the far end of the bay was a small exploration ship, old, but still working. It had not been used in years. Tommel looked at the ship and smiled. Maybe it's time for a small adventure, he whispered. He knew. It wouldn't be easy. He would need to prepare quietly. He would need supplies, a flight plan, and a reason that wouldn't raise alarms. But he also knew something even more important. He had heard their cries. He had chosen to care. And somewhere far away, on a planet, covered in trees and sorrow, someone was still sending out their voice, hoping, waiting, praying for just one soul in the stars to answer. Tommel was ready to be that one. Tommel stood in front of the small explorer ship, his hands resting on its dusty frame. The ship's name, Star Whisper, was barely visible under layers of space dust and old paint. No one had used it in many years. It wasn't large or fast, but it was strong, and most importantly, it still worked every night after his shift. Tommel worked in silence. He fixed the power coils, cleaned the filters, checked the fuel cells, and tested the engines. He downloaded maps and updated the navigation system. All of this he did quietly, with great care, so that no one would ask questions. He knew what he was doing was against the rules. He also knew the risk. If he was caught, he could lose his job, or worse, be sent back to Earth with a report on his record. But every time doubt came into his mind, he remembered the signal, the soft, sad voice from Kale, calling for help while the galaxy stayed silent. One night, while tightening a bolt inside the cockpit, Tommel paused and looked out the small, round window. The stars looked so calm, so far away. He wondered if the Varellans were still waiting. Were they losing hope? Did they believe someone would come, or had they already given up? He didn't know, but he was sure of one thing. He would not give up on them. 3 days before launch, Tommel sat in the station library, reading everything he could find about deep space travel and the Kale system. The old reports from the first contact mission described Kale as a green world full of gentle life. The Varellans lived in tree villages and used soft lights made from crystal stones. They did not use machines, and they did not have armies. They had always trusted others to be kind. That trust had betrayed them. The report said the planet had no natural defense. It was rich in underground energy, the kind that greedy companies loved. Maybe someone had found a way to steal it, using machines that didn't care about the land or the people. Tommel made a quiet promise to himself. I will not be like the others. I will not look away. On the day of his launch, Tommel woke early. He packed his bag with simple clothes, food, water, a small plant from Earth, and the old music player his mother had given him. Before leaving his room, he paused and looked around. The tiny space had been his home for years now. He was leaving it behind, and he didn't know if he would ever return. He left a note on the table. To whoever finds this, I'm going to help someone. I don't know if I'll succeed, but I have to try. Please don't stop others from doing the same. Tommel moved quietly through the station, avoiding cameras and patrols. When he reached the hangar, he entered the ship, started the engines, and lifted off before anyone could stop him. The Star Whisper slipped into space like a soft breath in the wind. He was on his way. The journey to Kale was long. The ship was slow, and the path was full of empty space. Tommel spent his days checking the systems, reading old stories about the stars, and listening to the signal from Kale. The voice was weaker now, but still there, a fading cry in the darkness. Some nights, Tommel felt lonely. He missed the quiet safety of Luna Point 6. He missed the warm tea from the machine and the hum of the station halls. Doubt knocked at his heart. What if the Varellans were gone? What if the planet was already lost? What if he was too late? But then he would sit by the window and look at the stars. And he would remember his grandfather's words, doing the right thing is often the loneliest path, but it is never the wrong one. That gave him strength. One day, as he passed, Through the edge of an asteroid belt, the ship's alert system beeped. A message had arrived from Earth. It was short and cold. You have left your post without permission. Your actions are being reviewed. Return at once. Tommel stared at the message for a long time. Then he slowly typed a reply. I'm going. Where no one else will go. You can judge me later. Right now, I have a promise to keep. He hit send and turned off the receiver. From that point on, he was truly alone. After 3 more days of travel, the ship's navigation system beeped again, this time with joy. Kale was near. Tommel stared at the screen as the planet came into view. It was beautiful, even from far away, a soft green and blue ball floating in space, wrapped in thin white clouds. But as he got closer, he saw the truth. Patches of brown land scarred the surface. Rivers had turned dry. Some forests had become empty fields, and across the planet, strange towers glowed with red light, machines standing like giants, pulling life from the ground. Tommel felt a tightness in his chest. The signal had not lied. The planet was in pain. He began his landing approach, guiding the ship gently toward a quiet forest near one of the larger villages shown on the old map. The ship landed with a soft thump, and everything went silent. Tommel looked out the window. The forest was still, but not peaceful. The trees were thin. The leaves were dry. The air had a heavy feeling, like a place holding its breath. He stepped out of the ship. The wind was soft and warm. In the distance, he saw lights glowing in the trees, not machine lights, but soft, blue orbs. Homes, signs of life. And then, he heard something, a song, faint, almost like a whisper. But it was there, a voice, a real voice. Tommel followed the sound, because he had come all this way to listen, and now, someone was finally singing back. Tommel stepped out of the star whisper and took a deep breath. The air was warm and soft, but it carried a strange feeling like the planet was tired and sad. The forest around him was quiet, but the trees seemed to watch him. Their long branches swayed gently in the breeze, but many leaves were dry or missing. The ground was cracked in some places, and strange metal towers stood in the distance. Glowing softly with red lights, the village ahead was small. It was made of tall trees woven together with vines and glowing stones. Blue lights floated around like fireflies, lighting the paths. The buildings were simple but beautiful, with round doors and windows that looked like pools of water. But the people were nowhere to be seen. Tommel's heart beat faster. He remembered the signal, soft voices calling for help. He hoped he would find someone alive. Then, from behind a tree, a figure stepped into the light. The figure was tall and slender, with soft blue skin that shimmered in the dim light. Their eyes glowed gently, and their hair looked like long leaves flowing down their back. The figure wore simple clothes made of soft fabric and leaves. Hello, Tommel said carefully, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. The figure stepped closer, watching him with curious eyes. Who are you? The figure asked softly, their voice like a song. My name is Tommel. I'm from Earth, he said. I heard your signal. I came to help. The figure looked surprised. Help? No one has come before. You are the first human to visit Kale. In many years, Tommel nodded. I want to understand what is happening here. The figure smiled gently and said, I'm Riello. Please come with me. You will see. Riello led Tommel through the village. The soft blue lights floated ahead, lighting their path. As they walked, Tommel saw signs of damage everywhere. Trees had broken branches. Flowers had wilted. Small animals hid in the shadows. Riello stopped near one of the glowing towers. This is one of the machines, Riello explained. They came many months ago. They take the life energy from Kale. Our forests grow weaker, our rivers dry, and our people become sadder. Tommel touched the metal surface of the tower. It was cold and smooth. He could feel a faint vibration inside. Who controls these machines? Tommel asked. Riello looked down. Far away. No one here controls them. They come from a place beyond our stars. We do not know why they take so much. Tommel's mind raced. He thought of the messages from Earth and other alien worlds. Why was no one helping? Riello led Tommel to a gathering place near a large tree that glowed with soft blue light. "Please sit," Riello said. "I will bring others." While Tommel waited, he looked around. The village was beautiful, but full of sadness. The Varellans who appeared were quiet and gentle. They wore simple clothes and moved with care. When Riello returned, several others came with him, men, women, and children, all with soft blue skin and glowing eyes. One of the elders, a wise woman named Tara, stepped forward. "We are glad you came," Tara said softly. "Our world is dying. We do not fight. We only ask for kindness. But no one listens." Tommel nodded. "I want to help. Tell me what I can do." Tara looked at him with hope and sadness. "You are brave, human, but you do not understand the danger yet," Tommel asked. "What danger?" Tara pointed to the glowing towers. "They are machines built to take everything from Kale. The beings who control them do not care about life. They want only power and energy." Tommel thought for a moment. "Can we stop them?" Tara shook her head slowly. "We have tried, but they are strong. We do not have weapons or machines. We only have our songs and our hearts." Tommel felt a warm feeling inside. "Maybe that is enough. Maybe we can find a way together." Riello smiled. "You are the first to say this." Tommel looked around at the Varellans. He saw tired faces, but also hope shining in their eyes. "I will stay," Tommel said quietly. "I will learn your ways, and I will find a way to help." Tara placed her hand gently on Tommel's shoulder. "Welcome to Kale, Tommel. You are a light in the darkness." That night, Tommel sat by the glowing tree and listened to the soft songs of the Varellans. Their voices rose and fell like waves, carrying hope, pain, and love. For the first time, Tommel felt connected to something larger than himself. He understood that helping Kale would be hard, but it was a path worth walking. As the stars shone brightly above, Tommel made a silent promise. He would not let this world fall into silence. He would not let the cries go unheard, because now he was here, and he had chosen to act. Tommel woke early that morning, his mind full of questions. The peaceful songs of the Varellans filled the air outside his small room in the tree village. But inside, he felt the heavy weight of the problem they faced. Machines were draining the life of this world. Someone was behind it, someone far away, and likely very powerful. He knew he needed to find answers. After breakfast, Tommel went to visit Riello, who had become his guide and friend. Together, they walked through the village toward a small clearing, where an old communication tower stood. This tower was broken, silent for many years, but Tommel hoped it still held some information. Riello touched the metal surface and said, "This tower once connected Kale to the galaxy. It was how our people spoke with others." Tommel examined the tower carefully, using some tools from his pack. He managed to reactivate its power source. The screen flickered to life, showing fragments of old messages, mostly peaceful greetings and reports from long ago. But then, among the messages, Tommel found something unusual, a series of encrypted files, data that did not match the gentle songs of the Varellans. Riello looked over his shoulder. "What is it?" Tommel shook his head. "I don't know yet, but I will find out." For days, Tommel worked with the old tower. He decoded the encrypted files, carefully reading what he could. Finally, the truth began to emerge. The machines were not random. They were part of a secret operation by a trade guild from a distant star system. This guild was known across the galaxy for its wealth and power. They had signed an old contract hundreds of years ago, allowing them to extract energy from Kale. The Varellans never fully understood the terms. The contract was hidden in legal language they could not read. The guild's machines drained the planet's energy to fuel their luxury cities far from Kale. They saw the planet only as a source of power, not as a living world. Tommel's heart grew heavy. The Varellans were not just victims of nature or bad luck. They were victims of greed. He shared the news with Riello and the village elders. The faces of the Varellans turned sad, but also determined. "We must stop them," said Tara, the elder woman. "But how?" Tommel thought deeply. "We need proof," he said. "Proof that the galaxy cannot ignore." He began to record the state of Kale, videos of the dry rivers, the broken trees, the silent forests. He filmed the glowing towers and the machines at work. He spoke with the villagers, capturing their stories and songs. Then, using the old communication tower, he sent the evidence to the Galactic Council. This was the group that made laws for many worlds and could stop the guild if they knew the truth. Days passed with no reply. Tamil grew worried. The silence felt heavy. He sent a second message, stronger and clearer. He asked for help, for protection of Kale and the Varellans. Still, no answer came. One evening, Tamil sat beside the glowing tree with Riello. The sky above was clear, full of stars. The village was quiet. Riello asked softly, "Why do they not listen? Why do they ignore our cries?" Tamil looked at the stars and sighed. Sometimes, people in power choose to look away. They say it is not their problem, but that does not make it right. Riello nodded sadly. "We have no army, no weapons, only songs and hope." Tamil smiled gently, and hope is powerful. But we need to find new ways. We need to be clever. The next day, Tamil and Riello traveled to one of the machine sites. The machines hummed with energy, pulling power from the ground. Tamil carefully examined them, looking for weaknesses. He noticed small control panels on the machines, places where they received commands. Using tools from his ship, he began to work on disabling one of the smaller machines without causing damage. He wanted to send a message, a peaceful protest, a spark of resistance. After hours of work, the machine shut down silently. The red lights faded. Tamil recorded the event and sent it out with a message: "Kel's people are not alone. We can stop this without harm. We ask the galaxy to listen and help." This time, the message spread from Earth. A small group of scientists and reporters picked up Tamil's message. They were curious and concerned. Questions were asked. Discussions started. Finally, a response came from the Galactic Council. They said they would send a team to Kale to investigate. The Varellans celebrated quietly. Hope returned. Tamil felt a warm glow in his heart. His choice to listen, to act, was making a difference. He knew the journey ahead was still long and hard. The Trade Guild was powerful and not easily stopped. But the planet had taken its first step toward healing because one human had chosen to act. The quiet village of Kale buzzed with a new energy. The gentle Varellans, who once felt forgotten and alone, now had a flicker of hope in their eyes. It had started with Tamil's brave act, shutting down one of the machines without harm and sending proof to the galaxy. That small spark had grown into something larger. Tamil woke early. Feeling the soft glow of the tree village around him, the blue lights floated gently, lighting the paths and homes of the Varellans. Outside, birds with shining feathers sang. A morning song, a sound that had become rare in recent months. Today was special. For the first time in years, a team from Earth was arriving. Tamil stood near the landing field, watching the small shuttle approach. It was sleek and silver, unlike the Star Whisper, but it carried something more important: scientists, reporters, and diplomats who had finally listened. When the shuttle touched down, the door opened and a group stepped out. The leader was a woman named Mira, a calm and kind scientist. She carried a small device to measure the planet's energy, and her eyes were filled with curiosity and care. Tamil walked forward and smiled. "Welcome to Kale." Mira returned the smile. "Thank you, Tamil. We've heard your messages. We're here to learn and help." Riello and the village elders gathered to greet the visitors. There were soft songs of welcome, voices rising and falling like gentle waves. The Varellans watched carefully, their hope mixed with caution. Over the next days, Mira's team explored the planet with Tamil and the Varellans. They studied the dry rivers, the weakened trees, and the strange machines that hummed in the forests. The scientists took measurements, took samples of soil and water, and recorded everything carefully. Mira spoke softly to Tamil one afternoon as they walked through a broken forest. "Your work has brought us here. Without your courage to act, we might never have known the truth." Tamil shook his head. "I just listened. That's all." "No," Mira said kindly. "Listening is the first step. but acting is what changes things. As news of the arrival spread across the galaxy, reporters from different worlds began to tell the story. The gentle planet Kale, once ignored, became a symbol of hope. Stories of the Varellans' songs and the quiet human who listened touched many hearts. Even some leaders, who once ignored the calls, began to ask questions. The Galactic Council held meetings, discussing what should be done, but not everyone was happy. Far away, in the wealthy cities of the Trade Guild, powerful people watched the news with concern. They did not want to lose their control over Kel's energy. Their machines were working hard, and their profits depended on them. Back on Kale, Tamil, Mira, and Riello met with the village elders to plan the next steps. We need to protect the planet, Tamil said, but we cannot fight with weapons. We need a peaceful way. Tara, the wise elder, nodded. Our songs are our strength, but we also need help from the galaxy. Mira agreed. The Galactic Council has sent a team to review the situation. If we can show them the truth, they will help protect Kale. Tamil looked at the glowing trees and the soft blue lights. We must be patient and strong. One evening, while the stars shone brightly above, the Varellans gathered for a special ceremony. Their songs filled the air, voices rising in hope and courage. Tamil stood among them, feeling a deep connection to these gentle beings. Suddenly, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. The Council announced that they had voted to pause all energy extraction on Kale until a full investigation was complete. They promised to send a team to help repair the damage and protect the planet's future. The village erupted in quiet celebration. Tamil looked at Riello and smiled. This is just the beginning, Tamil said, but it shows that one small act can start a spark. Riello nodded. You have given us hope, Tamil. Hope that the galaxy can be kind. In the weeks that followed, scientists and helpers arrived on Kale. They worked with the Varellans, planting new trees, cleaning rivers, and turning off the machines one by one. The planet began to heal. Tamil stayed close, learning from the Varellans and sharing stories of Earth. He found a new home here, a place where kindness and courage could grow together. One night, as he sat beneath the glowing tree, Tamil thought about his journey. He had started as one small voice, listening to a silent cry. Now, that cry had become a song heard across the stars, and he knew this was only the beginning. The sun rose gently over the green hills of Kale. Birds with shining wings flew across the sky, singing sweet songs that had been missing for many seasons. Rivers that once dried were now flowing again. Trees that had lost their color were slowly blooming with soft blue and silver leaves. The planet was healing. Tamil walked through the forest path with Riello. Both of them carried small baskets filled with seed crystals, a gift from the Varellans' elders. These seeds were not ordinary. They held the life energy of Kale and would grow into strong trees in just a few weeks. Riello looked at Tamil and smiled. We have not seen the forest smile like this in a long time. Tamil nodded. It feels alive again. They reached a clearing where the ground had once been cracked and dry. Now it was soft and full of new grass. Together, they gently placed the seed crystals into the soil. With soft hands, Riello sang a short song, a melody of hope and rebirth. The crystals glowed softly and disappeared into the ground. Back in the village, more visitors from other worlds had arrived. Not soldiers, but scientists, healers, and peace workers. They came with gentle hearts and open minds, ready to learn and help. They worked alongside the Varellans, asking questions and listening to their songs. The machines that once drained the planet were now fully shut down. The Galactic Council had made a final decision. The energy operation on Kale would be permanently stopped. The Trade Guild responsible had been warned, and their contract was canceled due to hidden and unfair terms. Mira, the lead scientist from Earth, made a speech under the glowing tree where all important meetings were held. We once turned away, but now we listen. The cries of Kale are no longer ignored. Today, we choose peace, protection, and partnership. The Varellans listened quietly. Then Tara, the wise elder, stepped forward. Thank you for choosing the path of kindness. Kale is our home, but it is also part of the great family of stars. Let this be a new beginning for all of us." The crowd clapped with soft hands and glowing smiles. Later that evening, Tommel sat beside the lake, watching the water shimmer in the moonlight. The same lake had been dry when he first arrived. Now, gentle waves kissed the rocks, and small glowing fish danced beneath the surface. Riel sat beside him, holding a small flute made of crystal wood. He played a light tune, and Tommel closed his eyes, feeling the music in his heart. "You came here alone," Riel said quietly. "You had no reason to stay. But you did." Tommel smiled. "I couldn't ignore your voices. Something inside me said, this matters. You listened when no one else did." Tommel shook his head. "It shouldn't take bravery to care. I just chose to do what felt right." Riel looked at the stars above. "Now the whole galaxy knows your name. But still, you are humble." "I didn't do this to be known," Tommel said. "I did it so your people wouldn't have to cry alone." Riel nodded and handed him the flute. "Then let your name be part of our song." In the following weeks, Tommel helped create a new project, the Kale Peace Garden. It was built in the middle of the old machine field, where the strongest energy tower had once stood. Now, instead of machines, the field was full of flowers, singing stones, and young Varellan children planting trees. Visitors came from many worlds to walk through the garden. Some came to learn about the Varellans. Some came to apologize for not acting sooner. All left feeling something warm inside. At the entrance to the garden, a simple stone stood tall. On it was written, "One human listened. One human acted." And that changed everything. In honor of Tommel, friend of Kale. Tommel felt shy about the stone, but Riello insisted it stay. "Your story reminds others that even one person can make a big difference," Riello said. "It tells them that silence is not the only choice." 1 year passed. Kale had changed. The forests had grown thick again. The rivers flowed wide and deep. The animals returned. Songs could be heard from every tree village. Children played without fear. And the machines? They were gone. Only memories now. Tommel chose to stay on Kale. He built a small home near the lake, where he could see the stars every night. He helped teach young Varellans about Earth. And in return, they taught him how to sing to trees, how to read the wind, and how to plant seeds that glowed. Letters from Earth sometimes arrived. People wanted to meet him. Some called him a hero. But Tommel always said the same thing. "I only did what anyone could do. I listened, I cared, and I acted." One quiet night, as Tommel walked by the garden under a sky full of stars, a small child ran up to him. Her name was Lyri, and she held a drawing in her hand. "It's you," she said, smiling. "You're giving light to the tree." Tommel looked at the drawing. It showed a simple figure, him holding a glowing seed in front of a great tree. The tree was full of stars and songs. He knelt beside her. "This is beautiful. You are a wonderful artist." Lyri grinned. "When I grow up, I want to be like you." Tommel's eyes became soft. "No, Lyri, you'll be better than me. You'll be a new light for Kale." And so, the story of Kale did not end with sadness, but with healing, friendship, and hope. A planet once forgotten was now remembered. A people once ignored were now celebrated. And all because one human chose to listen, not with powerful machines, not with loud words, but with a quiet heart. The stars above watched in silence, but this time, they were not ignoring the cries. They were listening. The end.